Hi there, friends and neighbors. Have you recently received a notice of new market value for your home and confused about what it is? Or do you know darn well what this notice is and you're thinking, TCAT, have you lost your mind? My home's not worth this much. Well, sit back, grab your favorite mug, and get ready to learn. I'm Jill Leberknight, lead realtor of the Agent Jill team and founder and community educator of the Austin Holistic Real Estate Group. In today's video, I'm going to walk you through my crash course on the Texas annual property appraisal process. But first, we're all going to take a collective breath and get present in our bodies and mind. Everybody ready? Here we go. Let's start with the Texas Constitution. Yep, that's where it all begins. Our Texas Tax Code, Section 23.01, has all the rules and regs for this annual holiday home valuing time. The Texas Constitution requires all taxable property to be appraised at market value as of January 1 by local taxing units, i.e. appraisal districts. Our appraisal districts use mass appraisal standards, and these mass appraisal standards must comply with the uniform standards of professional appraisal practice, meaning these appraisals must be equal and uniform. That's very important. They must be equal and uniform. They must compare similar properties, i.e. apples to apples. Now, these districts have 4 stages to the annual appraisal process. Stage 1, the appraisal or value stage. That's January through mid-May. Stage 2, the protest stage, mid-May to early to mid-July. Stage 3, the assessment or rate setting stage. That's mid-July to October. And the final stage, stage 4, is the collection stage, October to January 31st. Now, our tax code also states homeowners are entitled to offer an opinion or present argument and evidence about market value or the inequality of their appraisal. Okay, we can put the Texas Constitution away and get to the part where you enter the scene. How, what, and when do I get to protest my home value? Your appraisal notice should give 2 values at the top: market value and assessed value. The market value is the value the district places on your property as of January 1 of the current year. The assessed value is the limitation value provided by any of your exemptions. Texas Tax Code offers 10 exemptions for either full or partial saving benefits or homestead rights. So I want everyone to stop right now. Look at your notice, your appraisal notice, and make sure that your homestead exemption is registered for your primary residence. If you do not see HS, which is the code for homestead exemption, I want you either to stop and file your homestead exemption for your primary residence or document and note in your protest that your exemption that had been on needs to be reinstated. Sometimes that can happen. If you need more information about homestead exemptions and what they are and how you can get them and apply for them, go to my website, agentjill.com, under the resources chapter. Okay, next, what are we protesting? For those of you who registered an exemption, you should see 2 different values at the top of your notice. The first value, the market value, that's the value that we're protesting. You're always going to be protesting market value, which is usually the higher number. And to exercise your right to protest, you must file a notice, a formal notice to protest, in one of 3 ways. You have the option to file online or to file a written form, the form that was delivered in your notice, either in person at the East Anderson Lane TCAT office or by mail, by submitting your protest by May 16th or 30 days after you received your notice. Sometimes it's a few days later. So look at your notice that you received in the mail and it will have your deadline to protest. Tips for filing your protest. Let's start with the online filing option. You're going to go to the traviscad.org website. That's the Travis Central Appraisal District's main website. And you're going to go under the heading Protests under Informal Hearing. Click the button that says File Protest Online. And it's going to take you to a page that's going to prompt you to basically register your property. So you're going to use the ID, your property ID that is on your notice, and you're going to register your home. It's also going to ask you for the e-file PIN number, and that's a 4-digit number that should be in a red box that's on your notice. If you don't have that red box, that PIN number, call TCAD and they will assist you. So on the online portal, on the left side, there are going to be a variety of options where you can view documents, file your protest, a home page, and then it's going to have the same set of questions that are in the paper file form that you received in your notice. And then everything that you need, including your evidence packet, the comps that they've selected for you, where you can upload your evidence for your argument and your informal and formal hearings, can all take place online. Now, for years, I have always said, do not e-file, do not do anything online, do everything in person. And for the past 15 years, I have always done everything in person. This is the first year that I'm actually exploring more of the online option. I felt like TCAD had finally increased their systems to a point that created greater communication and greater transparency. So I, this year, am encouraging the e-file. Now, there is a customer service e-file option that's not entirely the informal hearing. The way the TCAD is describing the e-file is if you e-file online and you upload your evidence and you go through the process, you answer the questions, and they're going to immediately provide you with a value of home, a response. If you don't like that, they have a new option that they started last year called Get in Line. If you get in line, that is basically scheduling an appointment with the appraisal district to actually visit and speak with an appraiser and have what they used to call the informal hearing, which is not something that the county has to provide for you, but it is an opportunity to be in dialogue with the appraisal district and have some discussion with them to see if you can reach some sort of resolution before going to the formal hearing. If you do not like the option at the informal visit, then you're moving on to the formal hearing with the appraisal review board. Some differences with the online filing is that you must note the value that you believe your home should be valued at. You must put a price. It will not allow you to move forward in that prompt. Now, in the paper filing, that's always an optional question. You don't have to answer that. So just know that you must provide a number in there. So before you go in and submit and create your file, you might want to do a little research, which I'll get to later. Now, for those that are filing in person or by mail with the form that was delivered in your appraisal notice, you're just going to want to follow the prompt, section 1 and 2. Just check and make sure all of the information is correct in terms of the spelling of your name, your address. And for both the online and the in-person, it's really important for section 3 that you check all the boxes that apply to you, because failure to note one of the protest reasons could limit your ability to make that argument during your hearing. And then be sure to sign it. And when you deliver it in person, they should give you a receipt of your protest. In the mail option, they might not provide that for you for some time. So I always choose to go in person. If you're not doing it online, I would encourage you, if you're able to drop it off at TCAD. Their systems are really simple. The lines go really quickly. I've been in and out of there on the final day of protest within 5 minutes. Okay, you filed your protest. Now it's time to prepare your argument. Let's discuss evidence and argument preparation. I always have my clients and my neighbors first start with determining the condition, the current condition of their property based on TCAD conditions. And those conditions are excellent, good, average, fair, poor, distressed. They do also recognize flips, scrape redos. Those conditions are noted in your property appraisal notice packet, all of the information documents, okay? So you're going to gather documentation that supports your condition. Remember at the beginning I talked about the uniform appraisal standards that the appraising districts have to abide by? I said equal and uniform. I described that their appraisal process had to be equal and uniform. They have to compare similar properties to similar properties, apples to apples. So it's really, really important that every year you have an honest conversation with yourself. I always tell my clients, have your home close its ears because you're going to talk bad about her, but I want you to have an honest evaluation of the current condition of your property. In the previous year, we don't, maybe there was a winter storm, a tropical storm, maybe there was a new environmental situation that affected the condition of your home. And it's important for you to note that we're not talking about repairs like roof damage or from hail. We're not talking about the AC broke or the water heater broke. The appraisal district often classifies those items as normal homeowner repairs, normal wear and tear on the house. We're talking unexpected issues like termite damage, mold, foundation damage, flooding, grading, some of the issues that we've occurred through some of our big storms, where maybe in some years we've had our area or Texas declared a disaster area because of a storm. So that's the evidence, and those are the items and issues that I'm talking about that may affect the condition of your home or your property. So you're going to gather some evidence in terms of estimates from repair professionals for some of these items so that you have written estimates for these repairs. You can gather photographs. They might be statements from engineers, an engineer's report. They might be homeowners insurance reports or documentation. They might be cost to cure estimates or evaluations. So you're going to gather this evidence. And I want you to think of examining it with a critical eye. And you're also going to take the opportunity to develop information that the county might not be aware of, the appraisal district might not be aware of. Some of those issues might be issues that the neighborhood and your community are battling. Sound issues, traffic issues, issues with a home that has endured some crime. Now, it's important that you are able to prove that there has been a repeated and undue threat to the value of your home. This can't be a one-time thing, and you must prove this. So this is the stage where you're going to gather information about condition, environment, and this is where your community and your neighborhood can work together. There are some areas that have a lot of traffic noise or noise from live music venues. There might be some construction that is going on. I keep mentioning environmental issues. There might be some animals or some endangered species that are affecting construction or development in the area. So the first strategy that you always start with is condition and introducing new evidence that might support a lowered or a different value of your property. Now, after you file your protest, the appraisal district is going to provide you with their evidence packet that supports their position of value. And within that documentation are two sets of data: sales comps and equity comps. The sales comps are homes that sold during the appraisal year. That's January 1 of the previous year to February 28th of the current year. And equity comps are homes within your neighborhood code, whether they closed or not, and the value that the county has assessed those homes at. Now, for the 13 plus years that I have been teaching this workshop, I have almost entirely taught and encouraged, as have a lot of tax professionals, the sales approach, the sales argument for homeowners as they drafted and created their argument to the appraisal district. But with values having increased as much as they have over the past 2 years, there are a lot of individuals that are encouraging the equity approach during the argument process. So this year, while it is a bit unusual and a little bit different from what we have taught and trained with, we are going to explore, and I am encouraging that homeowners consider looking at the equity approach. The equity approach requires a little bit of different set of research. You're going to go on the TCAD site and you can look up all the homes in your neighborhood on their advanced property search mode in the drop-down menu. And you're going to look and research and explore other homes that may provide evidence of lower value. Remember, I talked about equal and uniform. Everything has to be equal and uniform, so they cannot appraise a similar condition home within your neighborhood code for a lower value than yours if all of the characteristics are the same. So the goal is to find between 5 and 7 equity comps. Now the equity comps should also be in your evidence packet. They will have selected 5 to 7. So I want to encourage you to look at the equity comps that they've provided you. Utilize your own research tools, whether it's Zillow or Redfin or Realtor.com. Look at the pictures, determine if it's similar condition to yours. The appraisal district doesn't know fully the interior condition of your home, so it's up to you to educate them and provide them with accurate data. So as you are looking at these two approaches, it's important for you to research both of them, research the comps that they've given you in terms of sales approach, and see if you have any outlet to dispute those properties that they've selected that sold in the previous year, or if you could explore the equity comps that they have chosen for you and see if you can identify additional equity comps through the Travis Central Appraisal District's website. And the way to do that is to go on TCAD and look at all of the homes within your neighborhood code. Your neighborhood code will be in your appraisal notice packet, and you can also identify it and find it in your property search for your address, for your property ID. And you go under the advanced search mode in the drop-down menu. You can create a map. You can look for homes similar within your area. So there are a couple of different strategies to go and look for other comps and see what other homes have appraised for. I've also been teaching this year that this is a wonderful way for neighborhoods and communities to collaborate and work together. Because when everyone protests, when we encourage all homeowners to protest their value, we work to create a more equal and uniform values within your entire community. And since the county can only appraise with homes within your neighborhood code, this is how we ensure that the county has accurate information. Whew! Are you tired yet? I know, it's a lot. You've filed your protest, you've analyzed the data, you've done your research, you've gathered your evidence and organized your argument, you've got in line and scheduled your place for the informal hearing, and now you're off to defend your big case. Okay, so I'm going to give you some tips on the informal hearing versus the formal hearing. Informal hearing, go. The first thing I want you to know is this. At the informal hearing, the burden of proof is on the county. They must defend and explain to you how they've reached your market value. Okay? So if time permits, and if there isn't a tight limitation on your time, I always encourage folks to let the county begin communication. I share scripts like, if they ask you, what can I do for you today? To begin with, I'm here to better understand why the county has raised the value of my property. And listen and learn. Then you can say, I'm here to introduce new evidence to the appraisal district. And then you can go into your argument. Now, when we used to have much longer informal hearings, that was a much easier script to do. But in years past, sometimes they've started off by saying, you've got 10 minutes, start with your best stuff. I think it's important that you know that at that hearing, the burden of proof is on them, and that you can utilize that time to really be in dialogue with the appraiser and to gather education and understanding. Okay? Now, once you introduce evidence and you have that dialogue and you visit with the appraiser and they explain how they've achieved value, they're going to provide you with an offer. Now, at that point, if you look at that offer and it's somewhere close to where you might like to be in terms of where you feel that the value is for your property, you have two options. You can accept the offer and run, or you can reject the offer. And if you reject the offer, you're moving on to the formal hearing, the ARB hearing, the hearing that is in front of the Appraisal Review Board. Now, the important thing to know about the formal hearing is that it changes, the burden of proof is now on you. You must defend why you think the value is different from what the appraisal district values your home at. Formal hearing is under oath. It's recorded. You must provide evidence ahead of time. You used to have to go and provide 5 copies to all of the review board participants or panel. But now you upload it to your online portal, but that has to be uploaded in advance so that the panel can review it prior to your hearing. And typically you talk first, but you don't have to. So you can ask the appraisal district questions and they can counter question you. So this is a little bit more of a formal court-like situation, and evidence must be retained by the appraisal district. And at that moment, there's going to be a recommendation by the head of the appraisal review board. And if you don't accept that offer, then the next stage is you're going on to arbitration. Now, that offer may not come in that moment at the session. It might be communicated to you, but you should receive that in the mail if you want to accept that. But if you don't accept the results of the formal hearing, you do still have one step after that, which is arbitration. And that's a whole nother conversation that I'll get to at another time. Okay, you're almost there. You've almost made it through the Agent Jill crash course on the Texas property appraisal process and the imagining of your formal protest for the year. But there's a few final tips I really want you to be mindful of. 1, do not talk about your inability to pay. You're not going to get anywhere with that conversation. 2, be courteous. I know that most people already know that, but you can get a lot accomplished with kindness and respect. These appraisers and even the review board, they are in meetings 40 a day. It can be overwhelming for them as well. So go into the meeting with as much positive energy as you can. Also be mindful that the appraisal district doesn't set the tax rate. That's a whole nother entity. So try not to focus on tax rate. The appraisal districts are all about the market and appraised value. They have to abide by the Texas Constitution tax code. They are audited every year by the Texas government, so they must adhere to their own rules and regulations. Another thing to be aware of is you have a Bill of Rights. The taxpayer has a Bill of Rights. And if you don't know what your rights are as it relates to the tax process, the property appraisal process. You can see the Bill of Rights on my website, agentjill.com. Again, under the resource tabs, I have all sorts of educational information. And finally, if this is just too much for you to process or enter into, there are tax professionals that you can hire to do this. I have a number of them that I'll post and share on my website. I'm always updating that. But Home Tax Shield is a wonderful one that has some great programs. Texas Pro Tax, 5 Stone Tax Advisor, and the Discount Property Taxes. So a lot of these professional tax companies, you will pay them a one-time small fee to have them look at your file. If they choose to take on your case, if they are able to lower your value, you will pay them 30% of the total that they are able to discount your appraisal amount. I will tell you that a lot of these professional tax companies are really being inundated right now with homeowners in Texas that are needing a higher level of assistance. So the sooner, if you already know, I'm going to let somebody else do this. I really encourage you to go ahead and try and sign up with them as soon as possible. Don't forget the deadline is May 16th or 30 days after you received your notice. As always, reach out to me, Jill at agentjill.com, or you can contact me on our website, agentjill.com, or the Austin Holistic Real Estate Group. I hope you got a little something from this education, and we're always updating it every year because as I've taught this over the decade, this is a target that sometimes evolves and moves and shifts each year with systems and strategies. So we'll always be sure to update our community and our clients every year. Thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye.